everyone, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of Talking the PS, your weekly PlayStation show where we round up all of the weekly gaming and PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games, and also available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside my techie teacher. No, I'm not. I saw him yesterday. The man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
My last piece of content actually for a little while, this.
But yes, Richie, great show lined up today. Talking about all PlayStation, we're going to be breaking down this week's blog post, which gave us quite a lot of news, actually. We've got PlayStation reaffirming their commitment to cloud gaming, which is something exciting. June's PlayStation Plus editions for you premium and extra members out there. Quite a good lineup. And a recap of the Ubisoft Forward, because, of course, we recorded this after the fact on the... actually, we recorded it before the fact, before the Ubisoft Forward last Monday. So it's a bit delayed, but we wanted to get into it because there was some really good, exciting stuff and news. So don't forget to check out the rest of the channel as well. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, do all that usual jazz. So you kept in the loop with all of the great content we do, like this very show, like XPass, and our weekly live streams. Before we do get into it all, though, I do want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in for the Summer Game Fest week. We covered pretty much as many shows as we could get to. We did Ubisoft, we did Summer Game Fest opening night live with Jeff Keighley, and we did the Xbox Game Showcase, and of course the PlayStation Showcase just a week ahead of that. So yeah, we've had our Summer of Gaming. It's kind of been and gone now. We've got lots of new announcements. I know a few weeks ago we were lamenting maybe not knowing what was coming in the future, and it's safe to say we now know very much that 2024 is going to be a stacked year ahead for video game fans.
Yeah, we went from, oh God, what's coming up in the future? Someone please tell us to, there's too much stuff coming up. Can someone please put these games in hold of it?
Yeah,
to give it more time.
My back catalogue is screaming right now, as it usually does. So before we get into the great show ahead, Richie, we always start with finding out what we've been playing for this last week. So do give us an update before you leave the country.
So I've actually put Tears of the Kingdom on hold for now because it's a perfect Switch game. I've got a lot of time in there. I'm literally going through 5 different airports in the next 2 weeks. I've got time. I've got time to play that while I'm on holiday. So I've actually been since I went to the Final Symphony. Great show. If you ever have a chance, I recommend it to anyone who's a big Final Fantasy fan. I got the bug to play Final Fantasy again, and I did actually start Final Fantasy Remake 7 Remake before Tears of the Kingdom, so I've went back to it. So that's been my main focus because I'm really trying hard to try and close that game out before going on holiday, and I don't think I'm going to manage it. And I've also played Final Fantasy 16's demo.
Yeah, that was your first look, our live stream this past week. So if you're interested in the upcoming Final Fantasy 16, demo is available now. Go download it, play it yourself. If you don't have the time or you want a bit more portability, check out Richie's first look up on the channel. We will get into some first impressions as we get into the show as well, because there is some news stories ahead of its launch. Not necessarily good for the developers, but it's news all the while. I, Richie, have finally finished Jedi Survivor. As of last night, not this morning, as of last night.
See, I saw it about 5 minutes before we were sitting down to record. I saw you tweet out saying like, you just posting that you got the platinum. I was like, he texted me this morning saying like, we were planning to record at 11. He's asked if it could be 12. Is he just like, I'm going to finish this now? No,
I finished it last night. So I am in fact a Jedi survivor. Nothing other than great things to say about that game. Thoroughly had an absolute blast of time with it. If you enjoyed the first one, you'll enjoy the second one. Cal's story continues, some great plot twists, some deeper Star Wars lore, some new worlds to explore, and I'm not going to go into spoilers, but there's some interesting things to do with a storyline that we've not seen in Star Wars canon ever before. So just as a nice little teaser there.
You play that game.
Well,
I haven't played a single minute of it.
Well, if you ever do get around to it and want to borrow it, I've finished it now, and I don't think they've got any DLC plans, so you don't have to necessarily buy it. The great thing with physical copies is you could just pick it up and borrow it. Physical media, everybody. It's not too bad after all. As I said, this week's live stream we'll figure out as the week goes on. I might try and get in somewhere, but yeah, I'm away. I'm doing some work in Scotland this coming week, so I won't have my setup or availability to stream, and Richie's going away and Rob's still moving house, so apologies, but we'll try and get something out, but I'm not too sure if we'll have the time, so bear with us, folks. But thank you for your continued support. Richie, let's get into the news, because we do have a busy show, so if you could do us the honours of introducing us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news.
The news. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, our news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, the wonderful folks who support the channel that extra little bit further, just like you can, from as little as 99 pence. 99 pence, less than $1. You can support myself, Richie, and Rob, bringing you better quality content. It keeps us ticking over nicely, and we do appreciate all your love and support. The over 50 of you, that sound like all of our audience is over 50. The 50 plus of you who support us that extra bit further, you get extra special perks, just like this very show early, our Amazon Luna podcast Luna listening early, stickers and badges next to your name in the chat, along with special emojis. And we do really appreciate it. We've been doing this for 3.5, coming up 4 years now, so it's been a long time coming. Of course, this show last week passed its year mark. We've been in the anniversary. And we couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much, Helix Heroes out there. You're all legends unto yourself. Richie, kick and start the news this week. As I mentioned, we got a blog post after the back of all the showcases and non-E3 conferences that happened this past week. PlayStation thought, you know what, we're going to tease you all with some cloud gaming news. So we're big fans of cloud gaming here on the channel. It's where the origins actually began, as many of you know. PlayStation 5 cloud gaming streamers are going to come to the premium subscription. So we kind of anticipate this for some time, but this past week, the PlayStation Plus reshuffle that happened last summer, so the new tiers, the old one, PlayStation Now being folded into it, it's actually been 1 whole year already of that reshuffle, which seems crazy to think it's gone so quickly. And they wrote out in their blog this week saying it's important for premium members to feel that value, because I know some people out there certainly haven't felt like they've had the value. And within their blog post, they basically committed to cloud gaming for the most modern titles. And one of our bugbears has always been PlayStation 5 games have not been able to stream through PlayStation Now, which is now PlayStation Plus. They need to figure out the naming convention for it. But essentially, they're committed to working on bringing PlayStation 5 titles to cloud game streaming. So through your PS5 console, day one, you can stream games, which I think has always been a bit of an oddity because Microsoft have done it for ages. Like Game Pass days, the Game Pass games, they drop day one, and we do a lot of our streams just straight off the back of it, just cloud game and boot it up. Whatever AAA party game is there, it's just available in the cloud. And PlayStation, for the last several years, it's not. It does PS4, it does PlayStation 3, it does some classics. Nothing of their new tech. So God of War, Spider-Man, all that, The Last of Us Part 2, all of that stuff, not streamable in the cloud. It has to be the PS4 version. Not surprised, but do you think this is a big benefit for PlayStation users out there? Do you think this is going to add loads of value to that premium tier, or is it just one of those, it's about time?
I think it's about time. I've kind of been in the camp slightly of going, you know what, if you can get PS1 to PS4 through like proper cloud gaming and use remote play to get up to PS5, fine. The thing I'm taking from this is they've been pushing remote play quite hard recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yet this is the other element, wing of cloud gaming, and they've just buried this in the blog post. It's like, and we've got hardware coming out that's focused on remote play, but then still work. It feels a bit disjointed in terms of the services, to be honest. How they're messaging it.
Well, this is how they've been for years, right? Is they don't really know what the left and the right hand are doing. Is it
the Q Lite, or what is it? The PlayStation?
Yeah, Project Q. Yeah,
Project Q. Yeah, my biggest takeaway from that was this should have PS Now on it. Like, not just remote play. And now if they're working on getting PS5 games, it's like, well, I think PlayStation need to sit down and go, what are we doing with the service? What we're doing with Now? What we're doing with remote play? Can we get some sort of consensus and just get that clarity out there?
Yeah, because they're so similar, but they're different. They're different beasts altogether.
Yeah, it's a good move. Mm-hmm. Absolutely 100%. PS5 games to the cloud, great move. But then it's still going to be probably buried in the current way PlayStation handles cloud games, where it seems to just hide it under sub-menus, so you have to go digging and is this game on cloud? They never actually address whether games coming to the cloud when it's in their blog posts. So it really is, you are down to digging through the store into sub-menus to find out if there is a cloud streaming option.
Yeah, because
there's more stuff they need to address. This is a good move, but if they're committed to cloud, they need to commit to it and actually get it out there.
Yeah, a key part from the blog says when this feature launches, cloud gaming will be supported for PlayStation 5 titles and will be available to use directly on your console. So again, they don't stipulate that it'll be available through the PC browser. Just on your console, PlayStation 5.
It's a start, but then it's cloud gaming. The biggest benefit to cloud gaming, especially if you have they're assuming you have a PS5,
Yeah.
is when you want to play games not on the console.
Yeah, you're aware
Because
and on the move.
if you have a PS5 in your living room attached to your TV, the benefits of cloud gaming are pretty much minimal at that point.
Yeah, it's more of a convenience factor, which
Yeah.
it does play a big part in it. But yeah, I completely get you. You'll probably find if they extend it to the PC browser, we'd probably do more PlayStation 5 streams on the channel, because the downside to trying to schedule the stream is you've got to make sure that the software is installed ready to go, and if it's not, it can mess up everything severely because you've got to wait for a 2.5 gig patch or something like that. In terms of, I do hope they fully embrace it. It's great to see it finally coming. A premium member, so I guess with us passing a year anniversary, it's a good point to test the water with yourself and the chat out there. Let us know in the comments below. Have you renewed your PlayStation Plus premium membership yet?
I did accidentally. I missed up. I forgot about my date. I wouldn't have renewed the premium though. I would have went down to the mid tier because I think that's where the value is.
Extra.
Extra. With premium, you're getting cloud gaming, which I actually haven't really used in PS5 because the performance when I have tried it was crap, and you can only use it really on a PS5. And as I said, at that point, the benefits of cloud is basically minimal compared to the drawbacks of local. So it's like, so I haven't used cloud gaming on PS5 much through the premium, and it's nice to have a lot of the classic games, a lot of the retro stuff in the library. But realistically, over the last year, I haven't had time to play them. So there's always an option if I wanted to play a classic game to upgrade at that point for a month or something. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say for me, extra is the value. That's the one you want.
Yeah, I've just renewed for premium for another year, and that was because they did the summer of sales thing, and I had a look, and it was like 25% off. So when I went in, it was basically £75 for the whole additional year on top of what I already had remaining. So I kind of crunched some numbers, looked at my bank balance, and I was like, you know what, 75, that works out a lot cheaper over the 12 months. Yeah, it's worth it. And I was like, oh, and then I'll just go for it, just in the off chance that we need it for content, or there is some games I want to play.
To be fair, £75 if you play 2 AAA titles in that year, you've made your money back.
Oh, absolutely, and we'll get into some of those titles because I do think the catalogue has got richer and richer, and they are doing a really good job of kind of like padding it out with like a variety of games. So PlayStation Cloud for PS5 games in the pipeline. They do have a long way to go to get catch up to parity with, I think, Xbox's performance in terms of just, as you said, labeling things.
It's a good move, but keep going. Look at the user friendliness as well as the actual hardware, as well as the service.
Yeah, absolutely. But maybe we will get to a world where PS5, 4, 3, 2, 1 will all be streamable. Some kind of magic cloud emulation. You find out soon enough. Our second story of the week, though, is a lot of games got added. So as I mentioned, it's the PlayStation Plus anniversary. So they've gone all out with this catalogue this particular month round and added a ton of games. I'll just read through the list to start off with, just because there's that many. We're not going to go through them one by one. I know we do traditionally sometimes when there's only like 4 or 5, but there's quite a lot. Kicking things off, the big kind of the big hitters for the start are Far Cry 6 on PS4 and PS5, of course, Ubisoft's open world game featuring Giancarlo Esposito. The second one for me, which is a great one, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Came out last year from Dometu. It's one of the I think it was for some Game of the Year awards, so it's well up there. Classic throwback pixel art game. Rogue Legacy 2, Inscription, Solstice, Tacoma, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, Killing Floor 2, which my brother absolutely loves, Lonely Mountain Downhill, Vampire the Masquerade, 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, Richie.
It's back.
Back with a vengeance. Run Your Own Vineyard. First Look is available on the channel, actually, for that one if you've not checked it out. A Hat in Time on PS4. Kato on PS4. Forager, PS4. Dodgeball Academia, PS4. The Wild at Heart, PS4. Redout 2, PS4 and PS5, never heard of it. Thief on PS4, so we're still getting some Xbox Studios games over on the old PlayStation Plus catalogue. MX vs ATV Legends, which isn't a fighting game, it's about racing on quad bike things. Paw Patrol Mighty Pup Save Adventure Bay, PS4, PS5. My Friend Peppa Pig, oink oink. DC League of Super Pets, The Adventures of Crypto and Ace. The Talos Principle, Deluxe Edition, which, again, good shout because the Talos Principle 2 was just announced this past week. LX2 and Conan Exiles for PS4 and PS5. So, big list of games there. That's not all, however. We've also got some classic titles being added from back in the day. They've added Killzone Liberation for PS4 and PS5, Worms for PS4 and PS5, Herc Adventures, which I'm guessing is some kind of Hercules thing, PS4, PS5, and Coded Soul, with the also addition that the game trial for WWE 2K23 will also be available from the 20th of June. Ton of games there, Richie. Mixed selection, AAA all the way down to indie titles and some family-friendly games at the bottom of the list. Is there anything in particular that jumps out for you? Obviously, Far Cry for me is the big one because it's probably the biggest known entity there, and it's also probably the best game, quite frankly, just in my personal opinion.
I think Far Cry jumps out. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a good game. I never finished it. I do own it. It never quite clicked, but it's like it's a bit very immersive sim. It's very in depth in its systems. It's like it wasn't the game I wanted to play at that time.
You went in the
mood. A good game. Yeah, 100 days. Go watch the stream. Me and Tom get drunk. We make a vineyard and drink lots of wine simultaneously. It is a very fun stream.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know which Worms it is? Because I'm reading that as if it's the original, but then if it's PS4, PS5, I can't remember if the original Worms was ever ported or is it a remake, remaster? I don't know what.
Well, this is where we don't really get any information from these blogs, where they give us like a list of games, but they don't actually tell us what they were. So in my mind, it'd be
nice to have like a 2-line description on them.
Yeah, just absolutely anything. So in my mind, Killzone Liberation as well. So they're listed in the classics area of the post. And you've got Killzone, Worms, Herc Adventures, and Coded Soul, but they are listed as PS4 and PS5. Now, in my head, Killzone Liberation was a PSP game, because I think I have it. I haven't played it in a long, long time, but it was like one of the first. We're launching a handheld. We want our first party games to have a presence on our handheld, and I think it was Killzone Liberation. There was a Call of Duty game. We got like a Twisted Metal game. We got like pretty much a bit of everything. So I don't know if it's like a port maybe from PSP over to PS4, PS5.
I'm trying to figure out what the kind of coding is here, because like if it's on PS4, it's also on PS5. That's just how it works for this system. So I'm guessing if it says PS4, PS5, that doesn't make sense, because if it was only PS5, you'd only put just PS5. So I don't really get it. And with them in classics catalogs, it's not the original console that came released on.
Here we go then. So Killzone Liberation is a PSP game. It was followed by Mercenaries. That's the one I was thinking of on the Vita. Great game. Didn't finish it. It was one that I actually tried to go for the trophies on the Vita, but I never got around to it. Released in 2006. And according to its Wikipedia article, which for all we give Wikipedia shit, they are usually quite up to date with like minor details. Nothing in here about a re-release, so it looks like this may be the first of.
It would make sense for being in the classics. It's just the PS4, PS5 thing. Maybe it's if you have a PS4, anything that's listed as PS4 you can get. If you have a PS5, you can get that.
It's just a stat yeah.
But then like Tacoma is PS4 only. But if I have a PS5, surely I'm getting that. I don't get it.
Yeah. If you got a PS5, you can play them all, so don't worry about it. But yeah, that's probably another good shout. Killzone Liberation on the big screen, essentially. What are your thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? We like a good bit of Streets of Rage here on the channel. It's essentially Streets of Rage meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this game, its soundtrack in particular, was apparently fantastic. So this is one that I think I went to buy, but then with it being 4-player. It was like, I want to play it with friends, and we never quite got around to it. You don't have any history with the Ninja Turtles, do you?
Not really. I have like bits. I've got some memories of watching like a cartoon as a kid, but I don't think I was ever into it properly in a way like that's permeated throughout my life. Where something like Pokemon, still very interested in it. Teenage Mutant Turtles, I think it was just one of them things that was occasionally on probably some like Cartoon Network on Nickelodeon. That's just there.
Yeah.
Like enjoyed it when it was on, but not invested. So like, and this is a start like these kind of like side scroller beat 'em up style arcade games. I enjoy them when we play, but then I do not think about them when we're not playing them at all. So I'm very happy that this game exists. I'm very happy it's coming to the PS Plus. I'm very happy it's doing well for other people mainly.
Yeah, there's a new movie actually that's due out this summer, which is it's Ninja Turtles, but it's in the style of Spider-Verse. So you know that kind of like frozen drop of frame rate animation, which looks really slick and cool. It looks great. The trailer looks so good.
If that's like a full reboot, like we're going to just draw a line on everything before, we're going to reboot with this new art style, I could get into that. I think there's something about the IP that people are drawn to, and if like they do a good modern take on it. Well, I think there was a live action movie before that was just horrifying.
Oh, you know what? I enjoyed it though, just because it was almost like the Mario movie. Like it was so bad it was good, but the prosthetics they had for the turtles were actually quite impressive for the time. But yeah, in terms of the game, I think it looks great. You should definitely check out the trailer for this Ninja Turtles thing, actually. And we still need to go to see Into the Spider-Verse, actually.
We do.
Probably before you go away, because it won't be on by the time you get back. So we'll see. It's
be difficult, but we'll manage.
We'll see. We'll get something in there. But yeah, so a long list of games, as I said, quite a lot. Hopefully for a mixed bag for different people out there. And that's the great thing with both PlayStation Plus and Game Pass now. As gamers, we are just spoilt for choice. Again, it's two individuals who have both of these subscription models. There's just so many. I don't even know where to begin. Like, as we said at the top of the show, I've just finished Jedi Survivor. I have nothing on my slate necessarily until probably Spider-Man and Starfield at the back end of the year. So I've got like a window now in which to pick something, and almost I look at this list and I look at Game Pass and I'm like, I don't want to start anything because there's too much.
I also, because you've got so much, it almost puts you off buying a title. It's like, unless there's the title like absolutely 100% want this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm not currently looking at Final Fantasy 16 and going, I need to buy this because I've got so much stuff in Game Pass and PS Plus I haven't touched.
Yeah.
I haven't started Jedi Survivor. I haven't finished Octopath 2. I haven't finished Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't finished 7 Remake again. It's like, when am I going to fit this all in? And then I've got Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth later in the year, which is going to be a day one pickup. That's
next year, I was going to say.
Yeah, but it's not that far off. And I'm literally about to go on holiday. That's going to set me back quite a hefty chunk of money. So I'm going to be skint when I come home.
Well, it's definitely a good problem to have necessarily, but I do want to know though, because I know you're a big fan of saying the next Final Fantasy 16 that comes out, I'll probably enjoy it. So I am going to check out the demo. You checked out the demo; it's on the channel. Mm-hmm. But because I was reading an article earlier on this week that was saying it's very heavily influenced by Game of Thrones, and I was like, right, awesome. That ticks more boxes for me. And I really want to like more Final Fantasy. It's just like, where do I find the time to do it? And now Jedi Survivor's off my slate. This could be it. So I think I'll check out the demo, and I think if the demo gets its hooks in me, if the demo does what the demo should do, which is make me invested enough to want to purchase the game when it comes out next week, then we could have our starting lineup.
Should we talk about Final Fantasy 16 properly now then, since it is in the show notes?
Yeah, it's in the show notes.
I'm already on there.
Yeah,
so.
we'll get into it. So in terms of Final Fantasy 16, yeah, it launches later on this week. It will need a day one patch. I saw that, even though it was on 2 discs. Is it 2 discs or is it the Rebirth? That's on 2 discs.
That's Rebirth.
This Rebirth. Okay, get my wires crossed already. So confusing, so many games. You did a first look on the channel. It has leaked out there in the wild, we should point out. So again, doesn't really make a massive difference, because if you just don't look at spoilers, you keep your eyes off it, you should be okay. But you did a first look on the channel. Tell us about it, Richie. Why should I, as a long-time video game fan who's a big, massive fan of third-person games, action RPGs, that kind of thing, never really played a Final Fantasy game before? Every individual game is usually a new story with new characters, so there's no thread connecting them all other than chocobos usually. Yeah, why should I jump in?
With Final Fantasy, there's common themes, common aspects that carry through from different games, but they're usually reinterpreted in very different ways. For the big one for this game is the summons that always enough, pretty much in every single Final Fantasy, probably every single one, I haven't checked. But in this case, they're called Acons, and basically your character is what's called the dominant. So each of the kind of different countries have like a dominant, and this Acon, this big spirit thing, is kind of like almost possesses you.
Right.
So that's how the kind of summons work in this game, where in previous games they were literally just summon the character, and they've done all sorts of stuff.
I was going to say, you say summons. Yeah. What do you mean by that? Like, is it a special that I can use, or?
Yeah, so for for example, in Final Fantasy VII, you could attach. They had a system called Materia where you attach like an orb to your weapon, and that grants you abilities, whether it's like attack abilities using magic. You could have summon Materia. So in battle, once your gauge is filled, you could summon another creature to help you fight in that battle. In this case, they've linked it more into how the ability system works because you have one of the icon of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So you naturally can use some fire-based attacks. So they've reinvented the way it works a lot. So in traditional Final Fantasies, turn-based or semi-turn-based, and something
Mm-hmm.
like 15 and 7 remake, this is full action now. So instead of going in the menu and casting fire, you're basically having you have a range attack. You press triangle, you cast fire.
Right. Yeah, okay. So that's I think one of the things. So in terms of the game, I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners as well, like me. You've said a lot of words there, and I don't think many of them have really landed with me. You said summons, and you said I'm going to say acorns, but it's not acorns. Acorns, and a bunch of other things. What in this core game? So it's set in it's a fantasy world, very again similar to Game of Thrones. So it's more realistic,
very Western medieval, rather than traditional Japanese. Or with Final Fantasy, it's not. They've done all sorts of stuff from like straight up like steampunk stuff, where like Final Fantasy VII to more in the early ones, it's very traditional Western style medieval. It's very much in that Western medieval kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know this was a Final Fantasy game, you probably doubt it was a Final Fantasy game.
Okay, so it's different enough from what's came before it.
Yeah, it is they've very much reinvented what this franchise is with this game.
And the Final Fantasy titles, they are usually about story, correct? Like it's about the characters and the journey they 100%. Go on. Yeah, and obviously in the past it was the turn-based stuff, and now it's more action-heavy. And that's similar to the trilogy remake they're going through, isn't it? They've made it a little bit more action-heavy, and that seems to be landing really, really well with people.
Yeah, 7 remake is kind of what I say is semi-turn-based. You are there doing action stuff, but then once your gauge is filled, then you can cast a spell or do an attack. So there is a turn-based element incorporated into the action. This doesn't have that. This is just action. This is a straight up action RPG.
That's cool. And from playing the game, the demo and the previous games as well, is it full open world, semi-open world? Are we talking like Tomb Raider, Grand Theft Auto? Where's the dial land on this one?
It feels linear from what I've played. But there again, I've played the prologue. The demo is basically the prologue, and it is probably about 2/3 cutscene.
Right.
Which wasn't great for a demo, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't spoil anything for me in terms of my want to play this game.
Interesting, yeah.
But yeah.
I just needed to... I think the demo is probably going to make my decision up for me whether I want to play it or not. In terms of the news this week, Final Fantasy, I said it lands very, very quickly. At the time of recording, though, there are some physical copies circulating out there in the wild. And they've had to put out a tweet to say, we're aware of a number of physical copies out there. Basically, if you've got a copy ahead of launch, do not share any aspect of the game, including screenshots, videos, live streams, until after it's officially launched. That's all. That happens from time to time, doesn't it? It's kind of one of the downsides to distributing things. You're trying to get them all over the world, essentially, to be picked up and purchased in store. Just don't spoil it for people. If you're one of those lucky few who've got it early, just cherish the moment and essentially have free early access because of it. And we seem to be hit with Final Fantasy non-stop at the moment. So it's an interesting one. I'll be curious to know if you jump into it, Richie, when you get back and see where we go with it. Overall impressions of the demo, you played it for 2 hours. You finished the demo, so it's about a 2-hour window, give or take, it probably gives you. Does it drop you in at the beginning of the game, or is this like a vertical slice from 3-4 hours in?
Honestly, if I booted up the game proper and that's what I played for the first 2 hours, that works as a prologue. It felt like this is the prologue. It ended with the title card.
Okay, brilliant.
So now it's like, okay, now we've set up all the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Off you go into the world. The demo might work better for you than for me, actually. As someone who's already interested in Final Fantasy, I wanted to see and was like more interested in how they're changing the gameplay aspects. I was hoping the demo would focus more heavy on the gameplay side.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about a good hour and 15 minutes of what I played was cutscene.
Okay.
In a 2-hour period. So in terms of setting up the lore of that world, there's a lot in that demo.
Interesting.
But yeah,
interesting, brilliant. Does your save file carry over? I know that's a thing with demos now. Oh, wonderful! Because that would be another thing in the back of my mind. I'd have that voice going, "You've got precious time to play video games, Chris. Do you want to sink 2 hours in a demo that if you enjoy it, you then have to do all over again?"
And that's one of the things that makes me absolutely convinced what we've just played is the opening 2 hours of the game.
Because that's a natural progression.
It's then easy for them to incorporate that because then you just build up your save.
Yeah,
like crack
brilliant.
on.
Interesting. And you said it was better than the Forspoken demo in terms of getting you into the game. Because I think the Forspoken demo put both of us off, right?
Yeah, the Forspoken demo, you jump into that world and everything just felt lifeless and flat. And it just felt, there's cool stuff like traversal, but they didn't really have a reason to traverse. You didn't know anything about the world or anything, or even the characters just didn't vibe with me. Where with this, actually, they are telling they're introducing a lot of story elements that they're clearly going to build on in this opening 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I didn't like it as a demo, but as a prologue, I liked it.
Yeah, that's good to know. Well, let us know in the chat, folks, if you checked out the Final Fantasy 16 demo and if you will be buying the game later on this week, and whether or not you think I should jump in and play it. Will this be the Final Fantasy game for me? I know a lot of our audience have probably listened to me and us talk for like I said, 3.5 years now nearly, so they probably have a good gauge on what type of games I'm interested in, and it's very rare that we get avoiding probably playing games, but I do have a whole entire Xbox catalogue to also look at and think, I could check out a few more of those games, but we'll see. We'll probably talk about it yesterday on XPass, actually, a little bit of what's available and what's upcoming, but let's move on to the next story of the week. So I mentioned at the top of the show, we recorded our live reactions to the Ubisoft Forward last week, and then by proxy of the way time works now, our scheduling, we didn't actually get around to recapping. So now we've had pretty much a week to rest on the news that came out from the Ubisoft Forward, Richie. I want to just break down a couple of the games because there's quite a few things on show. And I want to get into it a little bit about what was on show and what our first impressions. And we probably chatted a little bit yesterday on XPass about it as well, because there are obviously coming to Xbox at the same time. I probably want to start off in the order they were announced. So we saw, to kick things off, was Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. We got another look into that. It tells the story of some Na'vi warrior who was trained by a human faction similar to the movies. And then they are put in basically a long cryosleep, and they wake up 15 years later to find out that basically everything's gone to shit. Everyone's fighting still. War's raging through Pandora. What do we do? But I think for us as gamers, we anticipate this to look a bit like Far Cry in the world of Avatar. And the Ubisoft Forward has cemented one thing in my mind. It does look like Far Cry meets Avatar. However, the terrain, the environment, the gameplay, what they showed off, all it did was solidify that I want to play this game, and we got a launch date for it as well. So it's coming December 7th, 2023. You're not necessarily a huge Avatar fan, Richie, nor are you a huge Far Cry fan, but what did this trailer and showcase do for you when we were talking through it?
This was better than I was expecting. I was worried because I think Far Cry for me has always been good.
Mm-hmm.
But I play Far Cry, I play for a handful of hours, and then I walk away, and then the next day I never find myself longing to go back and play more Far Cry. I haven't had that desire since Far Cry 3. I've literally played every single one of them to at least some extent. So you know that thing when you start a new game, excited, then okay, go to work the next day. And at no point in that next day am I thinking about going home and playing Far Cry. So that's where I was kind of I don't think the bad games, I never have, but as I wanted this to be a bit more than just Far Cry with an Avatar skin.
Yeah.
I think it is a bit more than that. It looks significantly better than what I think I've seen for anything from Ubisoft in recent times.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Especially in the NPC character models. That's usually where they let themselves down quite a bit. This looks actually beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's actually something to be said about the whole showcase in general. A lot of stuff that was shown off, credit where credit's due, none of it looks Ubisofty, if that makes sense.
That was something I was actually really happy to see. It looks like what I've been saying is they don't need to rip up the rule book in all their franchises, but it feels like a lot of their franchises are ready for that next evolution of what they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this feels like what a new iteration of a Far Cry should be working towards, Well, I think Far Cry needs to go on hiatus a bit because it just feels like let's put another zany character, evil guy in,
Mm.
set up a new map, and then just do another Far Cry game. And it's felt like that since Far Cry 3.
Yeah, it's very much the comfort food of video games. Like, if you like collecting collectibles and chasing after a villainous bad guy in a crazy scenario that wouldn't happen in the real world, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that thing where it feels like a lot of Ubisoft games, game design is cemented still in the PS3 era.
Yeah.
And with 2 generations from Far Cry 3. So that's why I feel like and the biggest criticism, usually Far Cry, it comes out, it gets 7 or 8 out of 10 across the board, and people go, "It's a small Far Cry."
Mm-hmm.
So this, for me, I think it looks better. As not being much of an Avatar fan, it's like, I've watched the first film, I found it okay. The technology that went into it was really impressive. But I've always felt that that Pandora is a world that could be well explored in games if giving the budget and given the time to produce something fantastic that isn't a movie tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to stick to what the movies do. You can just do your own thing and just explore this world more depth. So I think this could be a really great game. It was a good showing for me.
Well, I think one of the things we picked up on the most was the world of Pandora. We said, like, Far Cry usually does really, really well, and it does really well because of usually the environments. Like 3... actually, when I think back, all of them in particular, they all have standout features in their environment, and I've always thought the games that perform better are the ones in the nice sunny climates. There's just something about playing a game. We said about Dead Island 2 did surprisingly well, sold over 1 million copies, and I think it's because it was set in LA and it was lush and sunny, and people just, like, again, look at the weather outside now. It's summer. You are just in a better mood because it's lovely and sunny outside, and I think that transcends into video games to some degree. And the great thing with Pandora is it's a beautiful world. Like, the bioluminescence that you see throughout the whole planet, and the animals and the fauna and the flora, it does a lot. So if you can take that formula and apply it to a world that we're yet to explore in any rich detail in the seemingly new engine that Ubisoft have this thing running in, I just, like, again, I've been to Disney World, I've been to the world of Pandora, I've done the rides, I've seen the movies. Similar to you, I enjoyed the story and the graphics and the CGI, especially in the most recent one, The Way of Water. Stunning. The fact that I then get to stick that in my PS5 and enjoy it in all its glory, I can't wait for that. So even if the gameplay is like subpar, I'm just looking forward to exploring the world of Pandora and not just a generic Far Cry island all over again.
It doesn't look like it will be subpar. It feels like you're going to get an interesting combination where I think I predicted the talent tree. You're going to get one talent tree based on what they've already told us about the story of you being like raised by humans and going to cryo sleep. So you've got that combination of abilities from the Na'vi, then you've got the human abilities. There's 2 of your 3 talent trees immediately.
Yeah.
And the other one could be more utility stuff, stealth and things like that. So
Looks
it kind
great.
of writes itself, and it means that you could probably encourage it at different play styles quite well. So
yeah, can't wait. There is a slight downside to all this, and I'm sure the team at Ubisoft are kind of like begrudging it a little bit. The movies have just been delayed. So we said last year we were expecting some kind of synergy when The Way of Water came out in cinemas just before last Christmas. We thought this game was going to launch last Christmas, and then it got delayed and got pushed back. Now it's got its release date for this Christmas. Guess which movie's just been delayed until 2025? Avatar 3.
This could satisfy people's want, because I was surprised how well Way of Water did, because it just felt like most people I talked to were just kind of, I'll see if I have time. Like, I don't know. I think you were the most I want to see this film out of everyone I know.
Yeah, I wasn't that fussed on it. And then when it passed like the $1 billion mark again, it pricked my eyebrows up. And then I was looking at like some reviews on it. And I thought, you know what? If I don't go see this in cinema, I know I'll kick myself. Watching it on Disney Plus on my nice, whatever size LG TV I've got in the living room is one thing. This is one of those things, like the first movie, you just have to see in cinema. And me and the wife went to see it in IMAX, and it just 5 minutes in, give her a nudge and went, worth it. Like, blew us away. The fidelity, the graphics, the 3D nature of it, just all of it was stunningly gorgeous. And yeah, unfortunately though, the next ones have been pushed back. So the third entry is going to premiere in December 19th, 2025, pushing the fourth movie back to December 21st, 2029. And the final and fifth one in this saga is going to release on December 19th, 2023. So you are not getting the fifth installment for another 8 years. So that's crazy to think of, but Imagine if you're Ubisoft and the game does well. That could be like content DLC expansions for nearly a decade.
You know, when I heard about their initial plan of like making like 3-4 extra movies, like so far removed from the first one, I was like, that's a brave decision to greenlight that, because the first one, I think I always kind of felt it was pretty much it was a moment in time because it really pushed like 3D technology on, and it was that moment where, oh my god, 3D could be the next big thing. But I think it was more. I always felt it was more the technology why that film did so well, rather than this the film itself. It was because it was the spectacle of it. It was a moment in time.
Yeah.
You knew going in what you were there for. You were going to see something like absolutely stunning, eye candy, probably the best visually looking film you've ever seen at that point. So it's like, ooh, now is that going to impress going forward? And it seems like Way of Water has done the same thing again. So
It
my
has
tune's changed on this. Like
It's
with Way of Water, I think they're going to be fine.
it's such a weird, like you're totally right. It's a weird thing to commit to, but yeah, at this moment in time, it's the third highest grossing movie of all time with The Way of Water with 2.3. So that's Avatar, Avengers Endgame, then Way of Water. James Cameron, again, for better or for worse, he knows what he's doing to pull the big bucks in. And it's crazy to think, by the time the last movie comes out, James Cameron will be nearly 80 years old as well. So credit where credit's due. That guy is grafting and raking it in. Moving on though from Avatar, what I think we'll probably do, I know we do these shows back in order, Richie. We'll probably split the Ubisoft showcase up and talk about half of it yesterday and half of it today. It just seems like we can spread the wealth a little bit between Xbox and PlayStation. I would say. Sure, it seems good. So the next one I want to get to then, the big game from the Ubisoft Forward, it's got to be, talking of Ubisoft doing different things, Star Wars Outlaws, Richie. It was we didn't expect to see it ahead of time. We actually saw it at the Xbox showcase, but then they went into a deeper dive at the Ubisoft Forward. And as someone who's just got the Platinum Trophy in Jedi Survivor, I could go for some more Star Wars right now, immediately after. And I love the fact that this game is third person, which ticks my box straight away. It's they're petitioning it as the first ever open world Star Wars game, which I'm thinking, well, I've just played Survivor and it kind of already is, but it is segmented a little bit into like you're only exploring a segment of a planet. So I get what they're saying in terms of like, if this is like a Ubisoft game, like an Assassin's Creed similar in terms of like scope, it could be huge.
I haven't played Survivor, but Fallen Order I wouldn't describe it as an open world. It's very much you're dropping into a level, you're open to explore that level.
Mm-hmm.
But the entire, when I think of an open world, is you drop into the game world. This is the entire game world you have access to without having to go through load screens.
Yeah, I think the big difference with this is, as you said, Fallen Order and Survivor, where they were kind of pocketed into, you landed on a planet and you had that entire area to explore, but albeit you couldn't go to different planets all at the same time. You had to do the jump to light speed. Knowing Ubisoft titles, I'm expecting just a massive map similar to like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, where it's just so big in scale, and I can go to all these outposts, I can go to all these hidden caves and areas to explore, all these dens and such, and it looks great. The trailer, the music, the characters, the story they showed off, the gameplay, which was what we were banging on our drum about the PlayStation showcase, then Summer Game Fest, is we just saw CGI. I think from all the showcases, Ubisoft, for their sins, they had a lot of unnecessary talking points, but when they got down to the games, they did show gameplay for every one of their titles nearly. And
they did a weird thing in general. The showcase itself, I don't think was great. The games they showed were. Like they double dipped a lot, almost triple dipped. It's like here's a trailer for a game, and now here's someone to talk about the game, and then here's another trailer for that same game. It's like he didn't maybe.
And before you leave, here's another trailer.
Yeah, it was like, okay, maybe you could have like condensed this a bit, but when they showed gameplay, this gameplay trailer, when like she's fighting her way through like this like base, looks phenomenal. Apart from the fact whoever's playing can't aim for hell. Like,
she might be similar to a stormtrooper practice. That's maybe where she's from.
It's very much stormtrooper aim going on there.
But yeah, I'm completely with you on that one. The gameplay that they actually showed off, which was about a 10-minute segment, was just fantastic. I thought it did a really good job of just showcasing what to expect from the game. And if the great thing this game really truly benefits from is you already know the Star Wars world. So the fact that, similar to Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, is just getting to explore that rich world and the characters and the side people you'll bump into. It just has me thinking, oh my god, yes. And back to what we were saying about Pandora, does not look like a Ubisoft game.
No.
Like, it looks like a Star Wars game, and a gorgeous Star Wars game at that.
I think Ubisoft have grown up. Like, they've evolved into... I think they are finding, like... this is what I keep saying about Ubisoft. I've mentioned with Avatars. I want Ubisoft to take that next step forward. I think we are seeing it with Avatar, and this feels like this is what the next iteration of Ubisoft is going to be.
Yeah, the gameplay showed off some elements.
Great.
It does, yeah. The gameplay they showed some elements of kind of stealth mechanics moving around. You've got your little sidekick, so very similar to my boy BD1 in Jedi Survivor. Yeah. You can use him to impact things, distract guards, all that kind of stuff, which it's always cute. Star Wars loves having their little sidekick characters, whether it's R2-D2 all the way through to BB-8 or anything like that. They love a good use of the side character. The combat, you can tell it's the team that made The Division. Like the duck and cover mechanics, hide behind walls. Obviously, we're going to see a range of weapons and blasters. I think the one thing that does have me really intrigued is the fact that this isn't Jedi. I don't have a lightsaber. I have like thermal grenades and pistols and stuff, but I'm exposed and I can't just block stuff. And I love the Division gameplay. It's fantastic. And it looks very cinematic, very fun. And I don't know what more to say on it. I think the biggest point I want to get to is near the end of the showcase trailer, they actually go into space. And after watching the Starfield showcase, Richie, I think that's the thing that made us go, oh yes. When she leaves the base, she gets in her own ship. There's a little interaction with the BX droid sidekick. Take off, and you see them go through the clouds of the planet, the atmosphere. And I think most people were expecting like a loading screen at that point. And then it just kept going, and then we were in space.
There's a bit of a loading screen. It's very well hidden.
It's probably masked by the atmosphere.
As your ship takes off, it's quite short, and then as you're flying out the planet, it looks clearly that's a loading screen as you're flying straight out through the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel hidden. It does feel seamless. Like, you get on your plane, you get in your ship, you take off. You're now fighting space. You're on your way to your next planet. Continue. Like, it looks great.
Yeah,
this is literally what I wanted. Like,
yeah. And this is what people have been asking for years. And then we have the dog fighting in space as well. She gets intercepted by some TIE fighters, and there's a bit of shooting going on. And then set to light speed. And then this is when they say it's open world. What is it? Multiple open worlds? Like, are we going to several destinations and having like 3 or 4? You know, video games in recent years when you think you've explored everywhere, and then you hit a chapter beat in the story, and then it opens up another whole area. I remember that distinctly in Middle-earth Shadow of War, or Mordor.
Yeah.
When you think you're nearly done, you're like, okay, I've cleared most of the map, the story's done, and then it opens up an entirely new, fresh, different landscape, and it's like, oh shit, I'm not even halfway there yet. This, obviously, it's a galaxy far, far away. There's so much to explore. This game's got to be like Assassin's Creed-esque, 80 plus hours, if not 100. And 100 hours in a Star Wars world, I am down for that.
I wonder how many like different worlds there's going to be. Because I would actually be okay with there being less worlds, but the world's slightly bigger than, say, Jedi Survivor, but more populated, more diverse within a planet.
Yeah. It looks so cool. It looks so cool. There's a couple of shout-outs I want to do as well for this game about the UI. So the font, the use of the Star Wars font and the colours, fantastic. It's very retro sci-fi Star Wars tech. It looks cool, looks slick. There's a wanted system where they have the Imperial logo, similar to Grand Theft Auto, and it looks like it's going to go up in like 6-star wanted levels. So if you've got that, it even actually has Red Dead Redemption Deadeye mode in it. There's a moment on the speeder bikes when she's been flanked by 2 bad guys, freezes time, picks them off, bang, bang, done. So like between taking the third-person Red Dead Redemption adventures, the world of Star Wars, the Ubisoft experience of knowledge of open world, Massive, who, let's face it, Massive made a phenomenal game in The Division, put it into this with a story, a character, a rich world. I can't wait for it. Cannot wait for it. This is my most anticipated game, I think, next. And it's interesting who it's going to be compared against, because I think Starfield is seems like the next natural comparison.
But these feel like
they do
very different games, which is like, yeah, they don't. That's a good thing. There's comparisons, but I don't think it's not like what was it? Dead. Oh, Dead Space versus
Callisto Protocol.
Where this feel like a 1-for-1. Oh, which one are you going to prefer? These feel like the two games operating in similar genres, but are very much their own games and will feel distinctly different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Played different. There's room for them both.
Yeah. Now, this is set between Empire and Return of the Jedi as well. So there are a few characters who could show up within this game. Yeah. But we don't know. Do you think there'll be a Jedi in it at any point? Do you think you can do a Star Wars game without having... I mean, there'll be references, no doubt. But do you think we'll see... Will our good friend Cal Kestis show up cross-game?
I don't want them to. I don't think it needs it. I think Star Wars is one of them. It's such a rich universe. You can tell a story that doesn't involve Jedi, especially in this era.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
In the era set between 5 and 6. It's like,
yeah,
there's not really much going on in the Jedi, really, apart from stuff that's being written now. So I just focus on the seedy underworld, and the Imperials are still in control, and there's probably going to be references to the rebellion. I'd be surprised if you didn't come across someone from the rebellion. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go Han Solo. I'd go someone maybe more subtle.
Yeah, get a side character in there, give them a bit more context.
Yeah.
But we know Star Wars, you can get the rights. Anyone who is near the end of Jedi Survivor, there's a very interesting cameo who shows up, who I'm not going to spoil, but let's just say they'll have had to do a lot of negotiating with the wider Lucasfilm team, to get said character in the game. So I don't think they've got this massive universe, and they're not going to pull on maybe some side characters just to maybe a couple of touch points. I know we usually critique the movies and say, why does everyone know the Skywalkers? Why is everyone attached to the Skywalkers in an entire galaxy? Why does it revolve around this family? We don't have to do that in the game. The game can be anywhere and anyone.
It depends how the licensing is. It's like, who owns the license for Cal Kestis? I'm guessing it's split. So then it's not you. If that's with EA, and then Ubisoft. Are EA willing to grant that license to Ubisoft, or do they have the right to block it? So honestly, I don't think Cal Kestis needs to be in this. So I wouldn't even bother. There's plenty of other characters you can use for cameos.
It would be cool if you maybe did a side mission where you followed in the wake of one of Cal's missions. Yeah. So you were picking up the pieces of
without
what
even
happened.
Actually reference him. It's one of them. If you know, you know.
Yeah, that would be cool if you find the remnants of something he's done on Coruscant or something. You're like, oh, it looks like there was a Jedi here, and anyone who's played Survive would be like, I know who that is. But you don't need his face or likeness or anything there. Yeah, that could be cool. But I'm sure this game's going to be like Easter egg galore. It's insane.
It will be.
Moving away from the Ubisoft showcase, then. Where to go next? Probably round up the show with just some quick ones. And we've got translucent faceplates, I was going to say, Richie. So anyone out there who's got a PS5 or has been a gamer for a long time, you'll remember the good old days of PlayStation 1 memory cards where you can see through them, having a Tamagotchi or maybe even an N64. Rob, if I recall, had a bright orange translucent Nintendo 64 back in the day, and I was very, very jealous of it because I just had a grey PlayStation that I couldn't see through, and it was quite dull and boring. And then a black PS2. These aren't official ones, however. They are coming from the Dbrand manufacturers. They make anything and everything to do with video games, but they make more custom bespoke colours and spin-offs. And they've just announced that they're going to put out 3 colours. We have Atomic Purple, Ice Blue, and Fire Orange, just to give you some 90s nostalgia. What's your take on these?
As well.
Smoke black.
Yeah,
what are you taking? Obviously, we always lament PlayStation and the lack of design labs similar to Xbox, and I do think all parties involved need to get more on this. People want to tweak their tech and make it look cool and different. Back in the day, I used to put stickers on my PlayStation 1, just that you got free with magazines. People are daft when it comes to technology. They like to brand them and change them and make them a bit different. I think the orange one looks cool as anything.
I'm in love with the purple.
You like the purple one?
Yeah, but I just want to read something from Dbrand because Dbrand, like, if you've watched any LTT stuff, you know that they're
Yeah,
insane.
all over there.
There's 4 retro colorways. Enables time travel. Has disc slot. Not illegal.
Not
Because
illegal.
they got sued with the original dark plates, didn't they?
They do, yeah.
So that redesigned the original dark plates, so PlayStation didn't sue them. But I think these are amazing. I wouldn't buy them because $69, and that's on sale.
Yeah.
That's pricey.
That is a little bit pricey.
If it was down towards the 30 thing, it's an almost instant purchase, though. Like, I think they just look fantastic. You're muted.
That's kind of the problem with the faceplates at the moment, is they're like, we've got a couple of colours, but they are just generic. I was talking to my brother about these the other day. It's just like the red and the purple, the cosmic purple and whatever it's called, they're just a bit bland. I want something more. Like when I look at my old DualShock 4s, I've got like bright orange and dark blue. I've got aqua and purple mixed together, and like they just look cool. And either PlayStation, get your act together and let me use my DualShock 4s, because currently they're just sat there being unused, the poor things, and I love the control to pieces. Like you've got the dark blue one, I think, haven't you, Richie?
Yeah, I got the midnight blue.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's in a drawer, I think,
Somewhere.
actually, because I don't use it anymore.
Well, yeah, it's a shame, and like I should be able to play. Like with the caveat, yes, I understand I won't have the DualSense features, but come on, just let me use it.
Well, I like my Midnight Blue PS4 controller so much. I designed my Xbox Design Labs controller to be Midnight Blue.
Yeah, I think in a nutshell, we just want more customization. That's what we want from everything.
It looks kind of like that on the PlayStation.
Yeah, so cool. Rounding out the show then, final story of the week. If you're a fan of horror and you are fortunate enough to live in the United States, head to Universal Studios this Halloween, either California or Orlando, because it looks like Universal have teamed up with Naughty Dog and The Last of Us and Sony PlayStation to bring us some horror nights. They do this every year, Richie. Any of our American audience, we know you're crazy for Halloween. You love your cotton candy and dressing up and going out and drinking out of red cups. But the reality is, they're taking this brand and they're taking it into the real world, Richie. Basically, if you've not seen one of these before, they take a chunk of the theme park, and over like a Halloween weekend or week, they get everyone to dress up. They've done Walking Dead in the past and Resident Evil, I believe. So essentially, you're going to walk through the park and there are going to be actors dressed as clickers. And they're going to be around, they're going to jump out at you, they're going to scare you, they're going to be walking around the park. Usually they funnel you towards like some specific segment of the park, so they're not just all over the place. There's not really much more to say on this. I just think it's a cool collaboration. Horror Nights, select nights, September to October.
It's one of them. If you get the right night, you might bump into Pedro and Bella.
I mean, they might be there for like a grand opening or something, but I just think it's a cool concept. Like I've never been one who likes jump scares in real life or in video games. But if I was in Florida or California and this was on, I think it's something that I'd have to go along to just to experience. Imagine if they get like this guy dressed as a bloater to just walk around the park. Like,
taking photos with babies.
Yeah, it'd just be
a bloater and Mickey Mouse ears.
Not at Universal. Come on. Universal. Yeah, exactly. Come on, jeez. But yeah, the announcement basically says we're excited to bring The Last of Us into a terrifying haunted house in the true spirit of the popular video game, featuring our heroes Joel and Ellie and clickers and more. The world inside the game offers a multitude of suspenseful and horrifying opportunities to provide guests with one-of-a-kind experience that can only be found at Halloween Horror Nights. So I'm expecting them to essentially make up kind of like a street that looks like a street from The Last of Us, or like a scene or a setting, and I'm sure the HBO can probably lend some props or something from the actual studio set. They just make it look like a clip from The Last of Us, and then you just get to live out that world. So it could be awesome. It's video games entering the real world, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what it looks like.
The strip from Pittsburgh, at the end of the episode.
They could
that could work really well.
They could go full on video game or full on HBO TV show. However, we'll have to wait to find out that, because that has been episode 53 of Talking the PS, your weekly PlayStation show where we round up all of the gaming and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games. You've joined myself, Chris, alongside my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie, who will not be with us for next week's show as he flies off to Montreal to meet the Ubisoft team over there. He's not really, he's going for his own work purposes. You might knock on the door.
I did actually look into it. They don't accept visitors.
They don't accept visitors. You could just stand in the doorway and...
They accept school kids for visitors, for like actual tours, but they don't accept just random public.
We've been over there. So aside from you putting on a school uniform and a tie and lowering your voice and shaving your beard, we very much doubt you're going to get in. But we'll hear about that once you're back. You're going to take your Switch and play some games on the long-haul flights, no doubt. I'll be back next week with Rob, hopefully. We'll figure that one out as the week goes on. But stay tuned. Keep it locked, like, subscribe, ring that bell, do all that usual jazz. And, of course, if you want to support the channel an extra bit further, you can click join below on the YouTube video, become a Helix Hero from as little as 99p or less than $1. You can get this very show early, Lunar listening early, stickers, badges, next to your name in our live chats, and much, much more. That's been it for Talking the PS. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Helix Plays Games. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. See you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.